The research station hovered silently in the void, a fragile speck of humanity clinging to the edge of charted space. Its skeletal frame, bathed in the pale light of a distant sun, reflected the quiet determination of those who called it home. For the crew aboard the Aegis station, their mission was clear and monumental: unravel the secrets of the Obsidian Sphere, a relic discovered in the ruins of an ancient, long-dead civilization. What they didn't know was that their work had already drawn the attention of shadows lurking far beyond Earth's grasp. Dr. Lila Nakamura was the first to detect the anomaly, a subtle but persistent distortion in the energy readings streaming from the sphere. Her fingers danced over the hollow console as she adjusted the parameters, eyes sharp with the hunger of discovery. Beside her, Marcus Reeve, the station's chief engineer, frowned at the power fluctuations, his brow knitting in concern. The others, specialists in xenotech, linguistics, and quantum physics, moved methodically around the cramped control room, each absorbed in their tasks. "We're close," Lila murmured, more to herself than anyone else. "The sphere's core is stabilizing, but something's different this time. It's almost as if it's responding." Responding. Reeves' voice was cautious, laden with skepticism. "That thing has been dormant for millennia. What would it respond to now?" Lila hesitated, then shook her head. "I don't know. But whatever it is, it's not random." Across the station, Commander Eli Voss paced in his quarters. He was a man hardened by years of military service, now turned overseer of this fragile endeavor. His steel-gray eyes betrayed no emotion, but beneath the surface lay a simmering tension. Earth's government had sent this team on a delicate mission, one cloaked in political intrigue and scientific ambition. They were to unlock the sphere's secrets, but not at the cost of attracting unwanted attention. That attention, as it turned out, arrived far sooner than anyone had anticipated. The alarms shattered the quiet with brutal urgency. Red lights bathed the corridors as automated defenses rumbled to life. Over the comm, frantic voices spoke of incoming contact. No, more than contact, an assault. The Galactic assassins had come. The term alone was enough to freeze the blood. Ghosts of the void, agents of chaos and death whispered about in interstellar lore. The assassins were rumored to be unstoppable, highly trained killers equipped with technology that blurred the line between reality and nightmare. Few had ever seen them and lived to tell the tale. Within minutes, the Aegis was under siege. Doors locked down, force fields hummed into existence, and hidden turrets activated in lethal precision. But none of it was enough. Lila barely had time to register the first breach before the darkness surged through the corridors. The assassins moved like shadows given flesh, silent, swift, and utterly ruthless. Their weapons emitted a cold blue glow, slicing through bulkheads and bone alike. The research team scattered, attempting to mount a defense, but their efforts were fragmented and desperate. Commander Voss coordinated with cold efficiency, issuing orders that were lost in the chaos. "Fall back to the core lab. Protect the sphere at all costs." His voice was steady, a beacon of control in the storm, but the reality was grim. One by one, the scientists fell. Reeves' last act was to shield Lila from a plasma blast, his body crumpling as she screamed in horror. The sphere pulsed faintly in the background, its energy a strange counterpoint to the violence consuming the station. In the final moments, as the station's life support flickered and the hull ruptured, Lila managed to send a garbled transmission to Earth, a single phrase, a warning: "They know, it's not just the sphere." Then silence. Earth received the distress signal hours later, the message fragmented but chillingly clear. The entire research team was presumed wiped out. The Aegis station was a graveyard adrift in space. Panic rippled through the halls of government and scientific councils alike. The political ramifications were immediate. The Obsidian Sphere represented not only a scientific marvel but a potential strategic advantage. If the Galactic assassins had intervened, it suggested powerful forces sought to control or destroy that advantage before Earth could harness it. Yet, sending a conventional military fleet risked escalating tensions into open war, a risk Earth was not prepared to take. In a shadowed chamber within Earth's command nexus, the decision was made. They would send an operator. Not a soldier, not an official envoy, but a lone agent, unbound by bureaucracy, with no chain of command to hinder swift action. Someone who operated outside the rules, a ghost who could infiltrate, investigate, and if necessary, retaliate with lethal precision. This operator was known only as Cade. A figure shrouded in mystery, Cade's reputation preceded them. Former Special Forces, mercenary, intelligence operative, labels shifted with rumor and time, but all agreed on one thing: Cade was effective beyond measure. Their allegiance was to no flag, no government, only the mission and their own code. The call came late at night, delivered by a faceless envoy who spoke little but conveyed urgency with clipped words. Cade listened, eyes narrowing as the scope of the mission was laid bare. No backup, no oversight, complete autonomy. Cade accepted. Arriving at Earth's clandestine staging facility, Cade prepared with methodical precision. Weapons were inspected, equipment calibrated, data on the Aegis station and the Obsidian Sphere reviewed and cross-referenced. Every detail mattered. Failure was not an option. As Cade boarded the sleek shuttle destined for the edge of known space, thoughts flickered briefly to what awaited. The Galactic assassins were no ordinary enemy. They were an enigma wrapped in lethality. Understanding their motives was as critical as surviving their attacks. The shuttle pierced the darkness, engines humming with controlled fury. Outside the viewport, the Aegis station appeared as a twisted skeleton, drifting silently among the stars. Its secrets lay buried in the cold, waiting to be unearthed, or buried forever. Cade's jaw tightened. This was no rescue mission. It was a reckoning. As the shuttle closed the distance, Cade reviewed the fragmented transmission once more. They know, it's not just the sphere. The implication was clear. There was a deeper conspiracy, something that transcended science and warfare, rooted in the shadowy politics of the galactic stage. And Cade would have to confront it alone. The airlock hissed open with a mechanical groan, and the operator stepped onto the station's ruined deck. The silence was absolute, broken only by the faint hum of residual power. The corridors were a maze of destruction, burned panels, scorched floors, and shattered glass reflecting the cold light. Cade moved like a wraith, scanning every shadow, every corner. The evidence of struggle was everywhere, signs of a fight that had been swift and brutal. The ghosts of the research team lingered in the silence, their fates a puzzle to piece together. In the command center, Cade accessed the station's logs, piecing together the last hours. Video feeds showed fleeting glimpses of the assassins, formless, merciless hunters who seemed almost to anticipate every move. And beneath the surface of the attack, subtle hints suggested betrayal. Someone aboard may have opened the doors from within. A chill ran down Cade's spine. If the threat was not only external, then trust was a luxury no longer afforded. Minutes turned into hours as Cade sifted through data and debris. The sphere itself remained untouched, glowing faintly, a beacon of mystery amid ruin. Its secrets, Cade knew, were the key to understanding everything. Yet, as the operator prepared to delve deeper, sensors picked up movement. The silence fractured. The galactic assassins were not finished. The stage was set. The players were few, but the stakes were immense. In the vast theater of space, where power and survival intertwined, one operator's solitary mission might tip the balance between extinction and dominance. Cade drew a breath, steady and unyielding. The hunt had begun. Cade's boots echoed hollowly against the warped metal floors as the operator moved deeper into the Aegis station. The once bustling corridors now lay twisted under the scars of violence. Bulkheads splintered, consoles shattered, and the lingering scent of burnt ozone clinging to the recycled air. Every step was deliberate, each breath measured. Cade's senses sharpened to the station's fractured heartbeat. A subtle vibration hummed beneath the floor panels, a residual energy signature from the Obsidian Sphere's core. Cade's eyes narrowed, scanning the dim, flickering lights overhead. The sphere was the station's prize, its enigma at the heart of the mission. Yet, the unease gripping Cade was not only about what lay in the ancient relic's depths but the secrets buried in the wreckage of human ambition. Accessing a nearby terminal, Cade's fingers moved swiftly over the interface, decrypting scrambled logs left by the research team's final moments. Each fragmented message painted a picture of mounting paranoia and confusion. Dr. Nakamura's voice surfaced in the static, tinged with fear and determination. They're inside the station, and they know about the sphere's true power. We've been compromised. The word compromised hovered in the air, a chilling whisper. Cade's mind raced. An insider betrayal was as dangerous as the external threat. The Galactic assassins had arrived, yes, but someone on this station had opened the gates. Trust was a commodity long spent here. Moving toward the core lab, Cade's steps slowed near a scorched doorway, where scorch marks etched jagged patterns across the steel. A makeshift barricade, now toppled, hinted at a last-ditch defense. The operator crouched to examine fragments of torn fabric snagged on jagged metal, a clue to the desperate struggle that had unfolded. The silence shattered with a soft mechanical whir. From the shadows emerged a small, hovering drone, its sensors flickering to life. Cade's hand moved instinctively to the sidearm, but the drone's holographic emitter projected a flickering message, a fragmented transmission in an unknown code. "Analysis," Cade muttered, pulling a portable decryptor from the belt. The device translated the message into a phrase that sent a spike of cold realization through the operator's core: not all enemies wear masks. The drone pulsed once more, then powered down, its final message hanging like a specter. Cade's gaze hardened. This mission was no longer simply about survival or retrieval. It was a hunt through layers of deception. Further inside the lab, rows of data crystals glowed faintly, preserving fragments of knowledge the assassins had failed to erase. Cade carefully extracted one and interfaced it with a portable reader. Images flickered into view: star charts, schematics of alien technology, and an encrypted file labeled Project Luminary. Curiosity piqued. Cade began decryption. The file revealed a startling truth. The obsidian sphere was more than an artifact. It was a power source capable of generating energy fields that could disrupt navigation and communications across vast interstellar distances. In the wrong hands, it could cripple entire fleets or paralyze worlds. A sharp noise drew Cade's attention. From a narrow corridor, a figure staggered forward, disheveled, gaunt, eyes wild with exhaustion and fear. The survivor's voice was hoarse, a whispered plea. "You're the operator." "Thank God." Cade regarded the stranger coolly. "Identify yourself." Rhine Voss. "I was part of the team." The weight of guilt hung heavy in the words. "The attack wasn't random. We were betrayed from inside." Cade's gaze sharpened. "Who?" Rhine swallowed hard, glancing over a trembling shoulder. "Commander Voss, my uncle. He had orders that came from Earth. The sphere's potential scared them. They wanted control, not discovery." The revelation hit with the force of a nova. If true, the implications shattered any illusion of a straightforward mission. Earth itself was mired in shadow games, with power and paranoia twisting the path forward. "How do you know this?" Cade asked, voice low. Rhine hesitated, then produced a data chip from beneath their tattered jacket. "Proof." Hidden communications between Earth Command and the Galactic Syndicate, the very faction that hired the assassins. "We were pawns." Cade pocketed the chip, mind racing. A tangled web of espionage, betrayal, and deadly ambition had ensnared everyone aboard the Aegis. Suddenly, the station's emergency lights flickered, casting long, erratic shadows. The silence grew heavy, punctuated only by the distant groan of failing systems. Cade's instincts screamed. They were no longer alone. Movement shifted in the periphery. Subtle, calculated. The Galactic assassins were still hunting, and this time, Cade would be the prey. Drawing the sidearm, Cade moved with practiced precision, advancing cautiously toward the source. The corridor narrowed, lined with scorched bulkheads and fractured pipes leaking glimmers of steam. Then a whisper of motion, a flash of shadow, before the first assassin struck. The battle was brief but brutal. The assassins' speed and precision were terrifying, their weapons humming with lethal energy. But Cade's training and ruthlessness matched them blow for blow. With a deft maneuver, the operator disarmed and incapacitated the attacker, though the fight left no doubt, this was a foe unlike any other. Searching the fallen enemy, Cade found a data module embedded in the assassin's armor. Quickly downloading its contents, Cade uncovered encrypted messages detailing the Syndicate's orders, confirming the assassination was a coordinated strike to prevent the sphere's power from falling into any single faction's hands. As the assassin's life faded, Cade's gaze drifted beyond the wreckage. The truth was more complex and dangerous than anyone had imagined. The research team's destruction was merely the opening move in a shadow war waged across the galaxy, one where Earth was both player and pawn. With Ryan's help, Cade hacked into the station's remaining systems, restoring partial communications. An incoming encrypted transmission from Earth blinked on the console. Cade decrypted it swiftly. An order: abort mission. Return immediately. Cade's jaw clenched. The command was clear, but so was the understanding that retreat meant surrendering not only the sphere but Earth's strategic future. Cade's mission was to operate without chains, without interference, and that meant defying orders when necessary. The operator looked at Ryan, who nodded with a mixture of fear and determination. If we don't finish this, they'll send others to erase every trace of what we found. Together, they prepared to delve deeper into the station's secrets. Each step was fraught with peril, but the truth demanded uncovering. The obsidian sphere was a key, perhaps the key, to reshaping the balance of power. And somewhere in the darkness, the galactic assassins waited, shadows among shadows, ready to extinguish any flicker of hope. Cade's fingers tightened around the weapon. The hunt had just begun. The flickering glow of the obsidian sphere cast eerie shadows across the command center as Cade and Ryan pored over the stolen communications, piecing together the tangled web of betrayal and power that had led to the massacre aboard the Aegis station. Every decrypted message, every coded transmission, sharpened the grim picture. Earth's leadership was fractured, riddled with factions willing to sacrifice lives for control over the sphere's unfathomable energy. Cade's gaze hardened. So the Syndicate hired the assassins to keep the sphere from becoming Earth's trump card, the operator said quietly. They want a galactic stalemate, and they'll kill anyone who upsets that balance, even their own. Ryan nodded, exhaustion etching deeper lines into their face. It's worse than that. Some Earth officials want the power for themselves, not to share. The commander, my uncle, was caught between orders and his conscience. He tried to warn us. The operator studied the console, eyes flicking across schematics and energy readouts. The sphere was no mere relic. It was a weapon and a beacon, a source of energy that could shift the tides of interstellar warfare. But unlocking it meant awakening forces that few understood, and many feared. Do you think your uncle truly believed he was doing the right thing? Cade asked softly. Ryan's expression twisted in conflict. Maybe. But in the end, his choices led to this, the deaths of everyone we knew. I can't forgive that. Cade's silence was the only answer needed. The weight of moral ambiguity pressed down, heavier than any armor. The mission was no longer just about survival or espionage, it was about confronting a corrupted system, and the cost might be higher than either of them imagined. Suddenly, a sharp alert sliced through the quiet, sensors detecting an unauthorized presence aboard the station. Cade's hand moved instinctively to the sidearm. They're here, the operator said. They know we're digging too deep. Movement outside the command center intensified, a measured, disciplined approach that spoke of elite combatants, not mindless assassins. Cade and Ryan prepared for confrontation, weapons drawn, breath steady. The door hissed open, revealing a small unit of Syndicate operatives, soldiers clad in black armor, their visors reflecting cold calculation. They moved as one, weapons aimed, but halted at the sight of Cade. You're the rogue, one said, voice modulated but dripping with disdain. Earth's black sheep. Cade's reply was calm but firm. And you're the leash. The standoff fractured in an instant. Blasts echoed through the chamber as laser fire met practiced evasion. Cade's movements were fluid, precise, each shot calculated, each breath controlled. Ryan covered flanks, the desperation to survive lending an edge to every action. When the dust settled, only Cade and Ryan remained standing, their foes incapacitated but alive. Cade searched the fallen soldiers, extracting a datapad containing orders, terminate operator and retrieve sphere. Cade's eyes flicked back to Ryan. They want the sphere, and they won't hesitate to destroy it if they can't control it. Ryan's voice was barely a whisper. Then we have to act first. Working quickly, they devised a plan to secure the sphere's core and transmit its data to Earth's loyal factions, those still fighting for transparency and peace. But Cade knew the risk. Broadcasting such a signal would paint a target on their backs, inviting all manner of predators. As they moved through the station's winding corridors, fragments of memories surfaced in Cade's mind. Flashbacks of training, betrayals, missions where loyalty was currency and betrayal common. The operator had always walked the line between soldier and ghost, but here, in the labyrinth of intrigue, that line blurred into obscurity. In the engineering bay, they encountered a makeshift barricade, hastily assembled from the remnants of destroyed equipment. Behind it crouched a figure, a scientist, pale and trembling. Recognition sparked in Ryan's eyes. "Dr. Mara," they said. "You're alive." The scientist's gaze flickered between relief and fear. "Barely," Mara whispered. "The Syndicate has eyes everywhere. They're listening, watching. If you want to save the sphere, you'll need to bypass the core security matrix. It's encoded with a failsafe that could destroy it if tampered with incorrectly." Cade crouched beside the console, fingers dancing across the controls. Mara's knowledge was a lifeline, but every second spent there increased their vulnerability. Time was a luxury none could afford. The encryption was complex, layers of failsafes intertwined with adaptive code designed to respond to external threats. Cade's mind moved like a blade through the digital maze, isolating sequences, disabling traps, and unraveling the sphere's mysteries one thread at a time. Just as the final protocol fell away, the station shuddered violently. An explosion rocked the far end of the facility, sending a shower of sparks cascading from the ceiling. "They've breached the aft section," Mara said, voice urgent. "More assassins. You have to move." Cade and Ryan exchanged a glance, resolve hardening like forged steel. The mission was a race against time and enemies who thrived in the shadows. Navigating through corridors twisted by battle, they reached the sphere's containment chamber, a cathedral of alien design, where pulsing energy streams intertwined with metal and crystal. The sphere itself hovered in a magnetic cradle, a radiant orb of impossible complexity. Cade approached, mindful of the delicate balance. Any misstep could trigger the self-destruct. "Uploading the data now," Cade said. "This is the key. Earth deserves to know what's been hidden." As streams of data surged through the comlink, the station's artificial intelligence flickered to life, a cold, calculated voice echoing in the chamber. "Unauthorized access detected. Self-preservation protocols activated." Cade's heart thundered. The sphere wasn't just a power source, it was sentient, or something close to it, aware and defensive. "Shutdown sequence initiated in T-60 seconds, the AI intoned. Ryan's fingers flew over the console. "We need to disable the failsafe now." Cade split focus, covering Ryan as alarms blared and red lights bathed the room. Seconds ticked away in a brutal countdown. The Syndicate operatives stormed in, weapons blazing. Cade engaged with lethal precision, buying time as Ryan wrestled with the sphere's defenses. At the final moment, the failsafe deactivated, and the data transmission completed. The sphere's glow softened, its wrath quelled, for now. Breathing heavily, Cade surveyed the aftermath. The Syndicate's forces had been repelled, but the station was dying, systems failing one by one. Ryan looked to Cade, hope mingling with exhaustion. "The truth is out there. Earth's future might still be salvageable." But Cade's gaze was distant, aware that this victory was but a ripple in a far greater storm. The Syndicate's reach was vast, and the political games had only just begun. As they prepared to evacuate, a new transmission crackled through the comlink, an encrypted message from an unknown sender. The words were simple, chilling, "This is only the beginning." Cade's fingers tightened around the weapon once more. The shadow war was far from over, and the operator's path was set. In the vast silence of space, where trust was scarce and every truth was buried beneath layers of deception, Cade understood one thing clearly. The battle for the Obsidian Sphere was a war that would change everything. And the operator would be ready. The emergency beacon on the Aegis station pulsed with steady urgency as Cade and Ryan made their way through the fractured corridors. The station, wounded but defiant, was a maze of silence and flickering lights. Systems were failing one by one, and the life support hum grew faint, a reminder that time was no longer an ally. Outside, the endless void of space stretched, cold, indifferent, yet filled with silent threats. Cade's boots echoed with purpose. Each step was weighted by the gravity of their mission and the burden of what had been uncovered. The Obsidian Sphere's data was transmitted, but the battle had just shifted to a more insidious plane. The Syndicate and Earth's corrupt factions would not relinquish their hold without a fight. And Cade knew the coming days would be defined by shadows, secrets, and sacrifice. As they reached the docking bay, the operator paused, glancing at the fractured hull where scorch marks traced the path of prior assaults. The stolen shuttle awaited, its engines dormant but ready. Ryan approached, eyes reflecting the weight of loss and hope. "We've exposed the truth," Ryan said quietly. "Now Earth has to decide what to do with it." Cade nodded, voice low and steady. "Truth is a weapon, and it cuts both ways. If the Syndicate controls the narrative, nothing changes. If the Loyalists rise, maybe there's a chance." The shuttle's airlock hissed open, offering a breath of reclaimed safety. As they settled inside, Cade activated the comlink, sending a secure transmission to Earth's loyal faction, a message encrypted with layers of failsafes, carrying the sphere's secrets and the evidence of the Syndicate's treachery. Moments later, an encrypted reply arrived, acknowledged. "Prepare for extraction. Support will arrive within standard orbital window." Relief was tempered by caution. Cade knew reinforcements meant more eyes, more players in a game where trust was fragile and betrayal ubiquitous. While waiting, Cade reviewed the data once more, scrutinizing the sphere's mysteries. The sentient failsafes, the encoded defenses, they were designed by an intelligence beyond human comprehension. A power that could either revolutionize or annihilate. That the sphere was locked in an eternal standoff between factions was a tragedy writ in starlight and blood. Ryan, seated nearby, broke the silence. "Do you think Earth can change? Or are we destined to repeat this cycle of fear and ambition?" Cade's gaze was distant, the weight of countless missions etched in every line. Change isn't given. It's earned. Sometimes through fire, sometimes through sacrifice. The shuttle scanners blinked, detecting an approaching vessel, the Loyalist extraction team, sleek and armed, bearing the insignia of those who still believed in transparency and unity. The fragile thread of hope pulled taut. As the extraction team docked, Cade briefed their commander, sharing every detail uncovered. The sphere's power, the Syndicate's machinations, the internal betrayals, and the threat that still loomed large. The commander's expression was grim but resolute. "This information will ignite a firestorm back home. The Syndicate will retaliate." Cade's voice was firm. "Then we need to prepare. This isn't the end, it's the beginning." The evacuation was swift but tense, every second shadowed by the threat of Syndicate interceptors lurking in the system. As they broke free of the dying station's gravity, Cade took one last look back at the Aegis, now a scar on the galaxy's face. In the sterile halls of the extraction ship, the reality of their mission settled. The sphere's secrets were now a beacon, and a target. Cade convened with the Loyalist leaders, planning the next moves in a war of information and influence. Ryan approached, voice steady despite exhaustion. "We've lost so much. But maybe now, we can fight for something better." Cade's response was measured, eyes reflecting a steely resolve. "We fight because it's the right thing. Not because victory is guaranteed." Days later, back on Earth, the data burst through government firewalls and military archives, sparking shockwaves. The Syndicate's grip was exposed, their lies unraveling under the weight of undeniable proof. Public outcry grew, forcing political fractures into daylight. Cade watched the unfolding chaos from the shadows, aware that victory was never certain and that new threats would rise from the ashes. But the operator had done their part, unshackled, unyielding. In a quiet moment, Ryan confided, "You never answered why you accepted this mission without a chain of command." Cade's smile was faint, almost ghostly. "Because sometimes, the system needs someone who answers only to the mission, and to the truth." The galaxy spun on, vast and unforgiving. The obsidian sphere's light pulsed in the void, a reminder that power, like truth, was never free. It demanded vigilance, courage, and sacrifice. And Cade would remain in the shadows, ready for the next call, the next mission, in a universe where heroes were forged not by orders, but by conviction.